Hi everyone, thank you for attending this webinar about how Sorbonne University will host you for your third semester for the EMBST Master Program. So we are now in June 2020 and my name is Lars and I'm a professor at Sorbonne University, and my expertise is in the field of modeling the marine ecological systems and mainly planktonic systems. And I work in the marine station of Villefranche-sur-Mer. So Sorbonne University is at the same time a new and an old university. It's an old university because inside the university we have the Faculty of Letters, which has been created in 1257 year, so after Jesus Christ. So it's quite old, but it also includes two other faculties, which are the medical faculties and the faculties of science, in which you will be enrolled. So it means that in Paris, we have buildings that goes from old buildings, such as close to the Panthéon, which you have on the left, to new buildings, which are on the main campus, which is the Jussieu campus. So Sorbonne University is in Paris, and the heart of this university is the campus Jussieu, which is next to the Seine River, right in the center of Paris. However, you will not be studying in Paris because you will be mainly studying in the three marine stations of Sorbonne University, which are Roscoff in Brittany, Bagnols-sur-Mer in southwest of France, but at the border with Spain, and Villefranche-sur-Mer, which is in the southeast of France at the border of Italy. All together, those three main stations, plus all the scientists that you have at Sorbonne University in marine science, makes that we are approximately 600 researchers working in the field of marine systems. So why, obviously, we needed marine station for Sorbonne University is that there is no ocean next to Paris. So therefore, we have the three marine stations. So on the left here, you have the marine station of Bagnols. Here you have the marine station of Villefranche-sur-Mer, and here you have the marine station of Roscoff. And in those stations, mainly what you can be doing is practical work, together, of course, with fundamental courses on marine ecology, but mainly you come to the marine station to do practical works that can be from ships, in the labs on freshly collected materials, such as you can see here with the fishes. So the main advantage of having those three marine stations is that you can really go for lab and field work in which you are next to the ocean. So I will now present you the three marine stations with 2 slides for each. So here you have the main building of the marine station of Roscoff, which is in Brittany, so northwest of France. And the main aspects of research that are done in these marine stations is about genomics of marine flora and fauna, therapeutic applications of bioactive molecules, of course, marine ecology and developmental biology. All those three marine stations have something in common, that they belong to the infrastructure EMBRC, which is a European Molecular and Biology Research Infrastructure, which provides to many labs in Europe different organisms that are found or that are cultivated in the different labs. So here you have one of the facility of Roscoff to cultivate marine animals. In Roscoff, so it's a coastal environment and intertidals, and one of your main work in field will be to go and sample or acquire data or even run small experiment in the intertidal zone. Of course, you will be also using a small little boat. So in Bagnols-sur-Mer, so that is at the border with Spain. It's also a marine station which is devoted to mainly to coastal systems, but also to deep sea systems. The main aspect of research in this laboratory is marine ecology and eco-geochemistry, environmental genomics, marine biotechnology and microbiology, and developmental biology. And here you have a view of their small boat, which can be used with the students by small groups.
Lars, just 1 second. It's not showing the presentation. It's just showing the PowerPoint, one of the slides.
Ah, so you don't see my presentation?
Yeah, we'll see just the PowerPoint, not just one slide. It's not changing.
Ah, sorry for that. And now what do you see?
Yeah, now it changed. Yeah.
Okay, so I will work that way because. So, do you see it with a good quality or?
We are seeing like Villefranche-sur-Mer slide.
So now you see Bagnols?
No.
Here you see, so it's not moving?
No.
So now, do you see the slide?
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay.
Thanks.
So shall I restart? Do you see the slideshow?
Yeah. Now it's changing. Yeah.
Okay, so I restart only with Roscoff. So that's the view of the building of Roscoff. And the text which I just gave earlier still holds for Roscoff-sur-Mer. So that's the fieldwork, an example of the fieldworks in Roscoff-sur-Mer. That's Bagnols-sur-Mer with a different main thematic of research of the different labs. Here is a view of the bay of Bagnols-sur-Mer. In Bagnols-sur-Mer, as I explained you will be working both in coastal systems, but also in deep sea systems. Okay. Now with Villefranche-sur-Mer, so Villefranche-sur-Mer is at the border with Italy. The main thematic are marine ecology and biogeochemistry, environmental genomics, marine optics, biotechnology, and mainly microalgae and developmental biology. So Villefranche-sur-Mer is a mixture of different buildings, and some are very old, like this one, which was built in 1780, and that one which is new, which is a new facility for the accommodation of the students. So here you have a view of the bay of Villefranche-sur-Mer, and the lab would be here on the western part of the bay of Villefranche-sur-Mer. What is typical in Villefranche-sur-Mer is that the bathymetry gets deep very rapidly, and you have the depth of 2,000 meters at only a few tenths of kilometers from the marine stations. So the EMBSc master program is associated to the master program of Sciences de la Mer of Sorbonne University, which is normally 35 students, which are mostly French, which follow the same track as you are doing for EMBSc. And here you have the address of the website of the master program of Sciences de la Mer at Sorbonne University. So all the courses that you will be following are given in the marine stations of Banyuls, Villefranche, and Roscoff. They consist of 18 ECTS, and they are organized in 2 specialization tracks. So Future Seas, which mainly takes place in Banyuls and Villefranche, and Conservations, which mainly takes place in Roscoff and little in Banyuls-sur-Mer. Okay, so that's the list of all the students which are coming for the next semester to the marine stations. And I have to say that the presence of all the students is in the marine station is mandatory to be able to follow the courses. There will be no full online courses for Sorbonne University. So the semester will start normally on the 7th of September, but of course you are all aware that we are in a very hard situation due to the propagation of the COVID virus, and that make a lot of things which normally happens without any problem every year more difficult this year. So the main issues for the 3rd semester are Sorbonne University is first the opening of the marine stations. There is a low risk that it's not going to open, but depending if there is and the intensity of the next wave of the virus propagation, there might be a risk that the marine station will not open, and that, like many universities, might not open due to that risk. Then, second, is that still due to the propagation of the virus, we need to apply very rules which respect the health, and likely we need to reduce the size of the groups, and we need to have less students per classes. To do that, we will probably have a hybrid teaching method, which is a mix of online courses for the students. So those will be the fundamental courses, and then presential, so where your presence physically is required in the marine stations is for the field work, for the computer rooms, and also for the lab work. And those will be done in small groups. So one disadvantage with that new situation is that sometimes for the fundamental lectures, you will be alone or in the library, but separated from each other to work on the fundamental courses online. But then in small groups, you will be able to do the field works, the lab works, and also the work in the computer room. So there is another risk, which is for the hosting in the marine stations. Normally, we offer the possibility to host you in the hosting facilities of the marine stations. But there is a very high risk that this year it will not be possible. In any case, the people in the marine station will try to help you to find outside alternatives. So finally, there is also a strong risk on the facility for your restoration, So normally you can have sometimes the breakfast, the lunch, the dinner inside the marine station, but this year that might also change, and alternatives are also under development in all marine stations. We continue. So now let's imagine that we are almost to the normal situations where the marine stations are open. So how will that work? So you will come in the two main tracks, which are future seas and the conservation tracks. For the future seas, it will start normally already on the 7th of September, while for the conservation track, it will start on the 28th of September. So, as I told you, you will be following 3 different courses of 6 ECTS, which is roughly 3, each of these 6 ECTS is 3 weeks. So the 2 first weeks will be for the future sea track in Bagnols-sur-Mer with the coastal community ecology, or in Villefranche-sur-Mer with the instrumentation and acquisition of data in oceanography. The track in Roscoff for the conservation will start only on the 28th of September to the 16th of October. During the second period, so the next 3 weeks course, the future seas will be held in Bagnols-sur-Mer and Villefranche-sur-Mer from the 28th of September to the 16th of October. So in Bagnols-sur-Mer, it will be again coastal ecology and functioning, while for Villefranche-sur-Mer, it will be method for the exploitation of data in oceanography. For the track of conservation, that will be in Roscoff from the 19th of October to the 6th of November. And lastly, for the third period, so for the last 3 weeks of teaching, those will only be in Bagnols-sur-Mer and Villefranche-sur-Mer. So Bagnols will host the 2 tracks. The one of future seas, which is characterizing and forecasting trends in biological oceanography, would be from the 19th of October to the 6th of November. And the one for human-induced impact on ecosystem will be from the 9th of November to the 27th of November. Finally, in Villefranche-sur-Mer, the course will be response of the pedagogos to the environmental changes. So that's finished. I think you can have a question directly through the chat possibilities of the webinar, or in any case, you can write me for all the questions related to the education activities. If you have questions for the administration, then the best is to write directly to Hannah Hertwig, that you have the email here on the screen, and put me in copy. I thank you all for coming to Villefranche, and I really cross the fingers that the situation, the sanitary situation will be fine in France and everywhere in the world, and I wish you a safe summer. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions?
I don't see the question. Ah, yeah, maybe here. So okay. So there were many questions about the slides. So I have a question by Remco. What will happen if the decision is made to not open for the marine station do we have to delay our studies then? So first, I really hope that that's not going to happen. But if that happens, it probably means that it will not only be the case of Sorbonne University, but maybe also of other partners in the consortium. So I can't answer to your question now, and that would be a decision by all the consortium to be done. If you could, for example, change tracks, but that might be a hard way of doing it. So, so that's for the question of Remco. So the question of Svenja is, so even for the online lectures, will we have to be present in France? Yes. So the answer is yes. For the online lectures in the marine stations, we think that either you can follow them from your rooms, if you are hosted in the marine stations, or from the place where you will be accommodated. So you could do that in real time, or we are planning to open the library or additional rooms where you can be following the lectures in a safe manner. So I have a question by Leonie. So Leonie asked whether, because the group is small, if they can be accommodated in the marine station of Villefranche. The problem is the same for all the marine stations. You are small groups, but the facilities in Villefranche-sur-Mer are smaller than the other university. And we also have to host eventually other master students. And at this time, since we don't know the rules of distanciation, we don't know if we can host any of the students. But what I will say also regarding that question of accommodation is that the group of teachers is trying to find alternative for the accommodation, and that we really think that it is possible because sometimes we receive students from universities and we cannot host them in Villefranche-sur-Mer, so we have possibilities in the auberge de jeunesse. We have so different kind of possibilities. So really, all the students have to come to the marine stations to follow the lectures. And that's a question by Carmela. No, Carmela is asking if we can try to have an agenda such as that you don't need to be in the marine stations, but no, you have to be in the marine stations because there will be quite a few of field work, practical work in the lab and practical work in the computer room. And for that, you need to be in the marine station. So the question by Amber is, will Sorbonne University help us in finding affordable accommodation? Yes, as I told you, we will make our best to find affordable accommodation for you. So the question by Alice is, what kind of help will the marine station administration give us in case we cannot be hosted in the marine station? So first, the administration resources that you have are for the very operational one are in the marine station, but decisions such as not hosting students in the marine station will also be taken at the level of Sorbonne University. So you have Hannah Ertwig, which I have in my last slide, that will be able to help you in that situation. But really, if we cannot open the marine stations for the EMBC student, it means also that we will not be able to open the marine station for any teaching this autumn, and that is really a situation we don't think we are going to. So probably the station will open. So the question by Fiona is, when will we know if the main station will be open or closed? That's a question that I have for myself every morning, which I wake up. I do have the same question. It's hard to tell, but a decision will need to be taken before the end of June. So probably by the end of June, we will know if the marine station will open. And most probably we will know that within the next 2 weeks. For the second question of Fiona, which is, when will you know if you can be accommodated in the marine station? That will also be probably known at the end of June. So the question by Amber is the field work at sea on boats definitely cancelled? It's not definitely cancelled because there are some aspects that we don't know of. The boats are not under our administrations. They are under the administration of the national fleet for coastal boats in France. And we don't know what will be their new rules regarding the use of the boats. So we try to work on possibilities to make small groups, smaller than the years before, to still be able to have the boats. So the boats are still planned, but we need to wait for the decision of the Conseil of the National Fleet for coastal boats in France. For the fieldworks, which takes place usually in Roscoff, in the intertidal zone, that is something that we don't need to wait for any regulation by any administration. We have to think about how to make them that the distanciation rules are kept also during the field work. But that should be something which is more easy. So that was the last. Oh, there are more questions. So I have a question by Arnaud. So for the conservation track, we will have courses in Roscoff and Banyuls. During the first semester, the coordination office told us that it will only happen in Roscoff. I think they made a little mistake in the coordination office. Probably they didn't knew of, but now in the last program, so for the last 3 years, the conservation tracks was split between Roscoff and Banyuls. The first 2 weeks in Roscoff, and the next week, the first 2 courses in Roscoff, and the last courses in Banyuls. And the students were reimbursed of their travel from Roscoff to Banyuls on a forfait base. So I have a question by Lara. Are non-EU students allowed into France to complete the semester? I cannot answer to that question now. So today, for sure, you are not allowed to travel in France. We have to follow the situation of the administration of the admission of foreigners into France, especially non-EU students, that will and we will know that by I hope also by the early semester. And one point we had, and we sent you a survey, is to ask you where you were now and if you were likely to have or not problem to come to France in autumn. From the answers I received last week, at the end of the week, apparently all the students were able to come. So if there is a case that you cannot or that you have questions, so please send me an email. Yes, so the last question by Leonie is, do we have a welcoming week in Paris before to go to the marine stations? So for the French master program, usually we have 2 days in Paris for them, but that was not part of the EMBSC program. So you start directly in the marine stations, and the welcome weeks for you is in the marine stations. So that week in Paris was open to EMBSC students, but that was not mandatory. And of course, this year, it will probably not happen, but we don't know either on that point. So the question by Remco, is there a plan B if the station do not open? I would say that there is no plan B now, and that is something we have to discuss with the partner, because if the main station does not open, probably it means that the sanitary situation will be hard again, and there might be problems everywhere. So no, there is no plan B for the moment. So I have a question by Irene. Are the dates of start and end you mentioned definitive or could change? I would say they could change, and we are still waiting for the decision of the university. At some point, the university wants all the program to start with a delay of 3 weeks, and that is something we don't want to do. And we have asked for the possibility to maintain the start in the early September. And we made this proposition to the university because you have to know that the sanitary situation in the different part of France is different. And in Banyuls, Roscoff, and Villefranche-sur-Mer, it's a very safe situation, which is a little different from the situation in Paris. So we hope the dates will not change, but they might change. And that was the last question. So if some of you have more questions, please. So we have a question by Isabel. What time are we required to be present in Roscoff? So probably you mean what date? So you have to be present in Roscoff the day before, or eventually the same day. That will depend on the time that the schedule is starting. The best is that you can write to me if you need to have that date and time, and I can see with the teacher in Roscoff so what date and time you should be there. So there is no more question. I'm sorry for the uncertainty that we still have, but probably that is something which is in many places. and we will try to make our best to solve all the situations.
Okay, let's finish then. No more questions. Thank you very much, Lars. Thank all the students also to be here watching, and you send an email with the follow-up, and you're gonna find this video on YouTube also to watch it later. Okay?
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.